Good evening, my name is Garrett, and welcome to The Last Call. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the 7 Deadly Sins challenge that's going on right now in the bourbon verse, if you want to call it that. I started watching a few different channels talking about the 7 Deadly Sin bottles. And essentially, this is you're going to pair up a bottle to one of the 7 Deadly Sins. This is actually started off by Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiasts, which was a new channel that I had not seen before. So big shout out to them for starting up this challenge. And to keep the ball rolling on hopefully everybody else kind of jumping in on the challenge itself, I'm going to be calling out a couple different channels. First one is Ty the Bourbon Guy. Next up, we have Inside the Barrel Show, which is one of the new channels I started getting really into. Phenomenal crew over there, guys. And Jeff Whiskey, who's over the ocean, so I'd love to hear a Scotch take on this. So, with that in mind, let's get into the 7 Deadly Sins. So the first of these 7 deadly sins is pride. This is supposed to be the bottle that you're proud of. Maybe it's a rare bottle or something that's on the shelf that you're like, that is the bottle I am so happy that I own, that I can share with people, or something that you can just share by yourself. For me, that is Eagle Rare 17. This is the fall 2022 release. It was my first time getting really picked for a lottery win. I distinctly remember choking on my dinner at the time when I got the emo because I never expected this. 24 hours after buying it, I had a pour of it with my wife. Like, this is a bottle that we do cherish, we do share, and if I ever have friends over that really want to try it, I make sure they get a taste of it too. Phenomenal pour. Is it worth the hunt? I'll let you decide that much if you ever get the opportunity to try it. I think it's a darn good. Next up is Greed. This is the bottle you spent the most money on. Now, typically, I try to keep the budget-friendly bottles just because it can get out of hand. For me, this was actually an anniversary bottle by my wife. This is Canadian Club 43 years old. Now, they've released a couple different ones that are a little bit higher and a little bit older. We ended up spending about $270 on this bottle. And I'll tell you what, it's damn good. This is a bottle that most people will never experience because they see Canadian whiskey. But I'll tell you what, this is phenomenal. The overall flavor complexity this one brings across at 43 years old, it just blows your mind on how much leather and dark oaks and yet a little bit of sweetness going on in there. It's not for everybody because of the price point, but I'll tell you, if you ever get the opportunity to try one of these older Canadian clubs, do it. So our third one here is Lust. This is your sexiest looking bottle. This might be something that has a really unique design to it, or just something that's eye-catching enough that people go, hey, what's that bottle? That's cool looking. For me, this is from the World Whiskey Society. This is their reserve collection. Specifically, this is their 8-year-old straight bourbon whiskey finished in Armagnac casks. And I'll tell you what, the whiskey inside here is phenomenal. And this just is such a striking bottle that they've released with this. The cool thing is when you're done with it, it makes a really cool decanter as well. But this is all metal plated up here, big thick glass bottom, really cool looking shape overall. And I'll tell you what, you have that on a back bar, it's going to turn heads. Up next, we have Gluttony. And to be honest, this was originally a bottle that you have a lot of. Maybe you just have a backup of a backup of a backup bottle. Here on the channel, I actually do not have any backups. I've talked about picking up things as backups at some point in time, but I never get around to it. So I am tweaking this one a bit, and this is going to be the Gluttonous Distillery, the bottles I have the most of from a specific distillery. And for me, that's the West Fork Whiskey Company. This is a local brand for me here in Indiana. And I'll tell you what, I have over 20 of their bottles. They do phenomenal things. This is all done in-house, distilled, aged, bottled by them. Phenomenal local whiskey for me. And I just love talking about them. They're actually starting to get online now, get a little bit more distribution out there. And they're actually part of the Hugh Hammer and Old Hammer series. So if you really want to count those in under that umbrella, I'm well over 40 bottles from them. Phenomenal whiskeys coming out of that group. And I'll tell you what, they're one to keep an eye on for great craft spirits. And real quick, to call out an amazing organization, this one here is actually a pick that was done by the ARPO, which is located in the Indianapolis area. This is the Alliance for Responsible Pet Ownership. They help foster animals, cats and dogs, kitties, puppies, all that kind of great things. I'm a big animal advocate myself, so I want to give them a quick little shout out too. I'm going to be putting some links for them, kind of promoting their projects and giving them as much support as I can. Next one up is Wrath. This is the bottle that you picked up that was just not what you wanted. It turned out you fell into maybe a trap of, the FOMO of missing out, and it just landed flat. For me, boy oh boy, this is the Whistle Pig Smokestock Whiskey. This was supposedly done up with Traeger for a partnership, being able to not only smoke the barrel with Traeger, but also add smoke to the distillation process as well, if I remember right. I tried this one on 4 different occasions. I can't get down. I do not like this bottle. I'm a smoky fan, as you can see. This is not good. I would not recommend picking this one up. I know that they've had some more releases of it. Don't do it. And just to cover my bases, since this is a limited edition product, so I don't know how many of them are truly out on the shelves anymore, I'm going to get some crap on this. This is Frey Ranch with their straight bourbon whiskey. I finally showed up here to Indiana, 4 grain to glass, coming from their own farms. They're aging it, distilling it, bottling it themselves in Nevada. They're even malting their own grains. I'll tell you what, it's so uneventful and bitter. I just could not get by this bottle. I picked up their rye, and I'm hoping that the rye is better. I just can't do it. I've tried on a couple different occasions to make sure it wasn't just me. I've had other people have a pour of this. Nobody has liked it so far. It does not taste like a 5+ year old product, in my opinion. It's closer to like a 2, 3 at tops. And it just does not have a great profile to me. And this is coming from somebody that loves craft whiskey. I'm just very disappointed in this release. And I don't know if I said it, this one's like $72, $73 when it came out. So at $50, I'm just so disappointed with this one. The next up is Sloth. This is the bottle that, you always see on the shelf, but you just never pick it up. Either because you're like, I'll pick it up later, or it just isn't on your list to pick up at that time. For me, it's the Whiskey Row series from Old Forester. I see these on every shelf everywhere I go, and to be honest, I just don't have a care to pick them up because I don't have a push to get them. I've picked up things like the 1924, which was a phenomenal bottle, and I actually have a bottle of their Old Forester birthday bourbon. But specifically the Whiskey Row series they have just doesn't do it for me. I've had them in passing. I think they're all right bottles, but I just can't buy them yet. I just don't have it. There's always something else I'm buying, and it ends up on the back burners. And again, I think it's just because it's so commonly found that my brain says, you can pick that up at any point in time. Grab this cool bottle here instead. So for me, again, it's the Old Forester Whiskey Row lineup. And finally, this is Envy. This is a bottle that you wish you could have. You've either seen other reviewers talk about it, or people in general have it on their shelf, and you just have not been able to snag one. For me, it's Jack Daniel's 12-year. I just have not been lucky enough to find one. I do have a 10-year, and I'm excited about trying this at some point very, very soon. But I'll tell you what, I just can't for the life of me find a Jack Daniel's 12-year in my market. I just don't know why. I found a few online, but I'm just not willing to pay those secondary prices on it yet. But if anybody in the Indiana market knows a good place I could pick up a Jack Daniel's 12-year, give me a call, let me know. So yeah, there you have it, folks. My 7 Deadly Sin bottles. Again, big shout out to the Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiasts for starting off this kind of a challenge. I love seeing these kind of things in the bourbon verse here. Kind of gets us all talking about bottles and seeing what other people say. And again, I'm going to be calling out Ty the Bourbon Guy, Jeff Whiskey, and Inside the Barrel Show. Hopefully you guys do up a cool list for everybody else to watch as well. And as always, may your last drink of the night be the best one.
And I really like it might not.